Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video brought to you by the brilliant Seedstream F1 app. Please go and check it out via the link in the description of this video if you're a Formula One fan. This video, unsurprisingly, is all about Adrian Newey joining Aston Martin. It's not been a big secret for some time. It's been news that most people knew but weren't allowed to talk about. The news, though, is now out there, and I think there's a number of interesting things that come from the unveiling of Adrian at the team. There's a few questions I want to talk about, maybe ask, and then hopefully answer. First of all, why has Adrian gone there? I mean, obviously, $30 million a year, that helps. But it's clearly not the main reason, right? He doesn't need the money. He has more money than he will ever be able to spend in his life. This is not a finance-driven decision. So there must be other reasons why he's chosen to go there over other teams. Some of those will be around the amount of freedom and responsibility he is being given at Aston Martin. Lawrence Stroll is giving him effectively the keys to the kingdom to say, go ahead, build whatever you want, organise it however you want, run it however you want, bring in whoever you want. I will support it, I will fund it, I will back it. I will give you all of the support you need to help us to become world champions. That's a pretty appealing brief when you're being offered a role at a big team like this. The other side is that Aston Martin are a team that have invested heavily in infrastructure. So the idea of the new factory with its brand new wind tunnel coming online, the new driver in the loop simulator, and all of the other facilities that have been building in the background are state of the art, the newest and most advanced anywhere in Formula One. Now, to an Adrian Newey, that is so appealing to have access to those tools. But even with those tools, the ones they have right now, the team are underperforming. Yes, they've got Fernando Alonso. No doubt, he is a great driver. They're underperforming. They've got some brilliant people within the team. Yet they're still really a midfield outfit. They've got enough money to excel beyond that position, yet they haven't managed to do it. That's also really attractive to Adrian Newey because he can come in and he can make a difference. The best and biggest superstars of our sport, and I'm talking about the Lewis Hamiltons of this world, the Max Verstappens, the Adrian Neweys, they want to come into a team where at the moment they're underperforming, but there is definitely scope to improve. Now, I'm not saying that if Aston Martin become world champions over the next couple of years, it will all be because of Adrian Newey. It almost certainly won't be. It's a big team environment and it takes lots of elements to win. But given their starting point, the scope for improvement is so great that he will look like he's had the biggest effect ever if they do come out on top in 26 or beyond. That's also quite appealing to someone like Adrian. He's not a character that has a big ego, but he is a character, and I can say this from experience of working with him, who needs recognition for what he brings to a team. Aston Martin are certainly giving him that right now. The recognition of his past performance is obviously massive. The data and the track record shows that when there's a major regulation change, he is the guy that will exploit that best, that thinks a little bit differently to the competition and therefore is able to generate opportunities where others may not necessarily see them. And don't forget, 26 regulations are the biggest change in the history of this sport in one go. Brand new power units as well as brand new chassis, brand new sustainable fuels. There's all sorts changing in one go. With Adrian being at the very top of the technical tree at Aston Martin, he will have control over all of that. He will be able to manage a process of how do we bring in his good friends at Honda and manage that integration between chassis and power unit, something that Mercedes, of course, excelled in 2014 that developed massive success for them. Could Adrian lead a team that does exactly that? The opportunity is there for the taking. The other question, I guess, is why would the team invest so heavily in him? In one single person, from the engineering background that he comes from, is he worth $30 million a year? Plus, of course, a shareholding in the team and whatever else the package entails. The answer probably is yes. And the reason I've so quickly come to that conclusion is not because I necessarily think that he will undoubtedly draw on his drawing board a car that will just win a championship. He may well do. There's a high chance that he will do with the changes that are coming, as I mentioned. But the $30 million he's that they're investing isn't just for that. There's a much bigger effect that bringing Adrian Newey, and particularly bringing him in the way that they brought him in with the huge fanfare that we saw with the unveiling, there's an even bigger impact on the team that's already there, but also the people surrounding that team. And what I mean by that is bringing somebody in with such aplomb, such praise, and such a fanfare, the big presentation event. You never get that in Formula One. The only time you get that maybe is when you're unveiling a new car at a top team, maybe. I can't think of a driver that's had that in recent times. You might get it at Ferrari when Lewis goes there, but that's pretty much it. In most cases, a new driver announcement comes with a short social media video or a press release. A live, televised, staged event of the high quality and caliber that we saw play out over the course of yesterday was impressive. But it only adds to this fuss that's being made about Adrian coming to the team. And what that does is it had this major impact on the people that work there, because already people are now starting to believe they can win. Yeah, we've got Adrian Newey, and all the things that I've just highlighted about why that seems like such a good idea for Adrian. If Adrian's been convinced by what Aston are building and what they're offering and what they're trying to achieve in the future, everybody else within that organisation suddenly starts to believe it's possible. You think about the people that work at Aston Martin right now. They've been there maybe for a few years. They have reached the dizzy heights of maybe fourth in the championship, but really they're midfield. They're a midfield outfit. Every year over the past couple, they've been a midfield outfit, striving as much as they can. They haven't managed to break out of that midfield. So your belief begins to be limited about you being a midfield team. You bring in an Adrian Newey into this mix, and you look at why Adrian was convinced to go there. Because the money, as I said, could have come from anywhere. Ferrari could have given him big bucks. But the project wasn't attractive as much as it is at Aston Martin. So if you see somebody of the caliber of Adrian being convinced by that, immediately everyone at Aston Martin is also convinced they are going to become a top team. And when you have that belief, the level of input starts to be raised, even only by the smallest amounts, by every single person in that organisation. The reason I mentioned earlier that Adrian doesn't have a major ego, as in his own sense of self, he's not so uninflated. He doesn't believe he has to come in and every idea has to be his. That's important, because a character of the presence of Adrian Newey has to be able to work with other people to create a good Formula One car and team. And I believe he will. I've worked with Adrian for a good few years at McLaren. I know how he operates. He can work with people. He can share that credit around. He is very quick to say when an idea wasn't necessarily his. He will back somebody up if an idea came from elsewhere. He's not the sort of person that has to have everything coming off his own drawing board. That's important. I think he will fit in. But the other knock-on effect of this is if you're an Aston Martin investing 30 million a year plus in bringing this guy to the team, you need to be pretty sure that's going to return you an investment at some point. Now, I believe it will. I think the success on track will come. I genuinely believe that will happen. I've looked at Aston Martin, by the way, over the last few years and thought their strategy for success has been a bit haphazard. They've been throwing money and people at things, bringing in Fernando Alonso, but it's all just been, right, throw some more funds at the problem, that'll fix it. And it hasn't yet. But now that I've seen, and I've been convinced by seeing Adrian Newey be convinced, I actually now believe that what they are building is right. What I believe they're building is something that's sustainable, something that is building towards longer term growth with the investment in infrastructure and tooling as well as people. If Adrian's been convinced, then I'm convinced. I trust his judgment on this. I believe they will start to develop success on track, and that will bring its own return. But even bigger than that, I wonder how much the phone has been ringing today at Aston Martin with brands and sponsors wanting to get involved, wanting to up their involvement if they're already existing partners with the team. Because you want to be associated with this movement that you see happening. The team is growing. The team is going to have success in almost everybody's eyes now. It's not just because Adrian will definitely draw a good car. It's because of all these things I'm talking about, this cumulative effect that he's having, and his employment and his announcement. And the whole picture at Aston Martin is coming together to build success. Now, if you firmly believe that's what's going to happen in the future, as a brand, you want to be on that train. You want to be part of it. So you're going to see bigger brands coming into the organization. You're going to see brands paying at a higher rate card because there's a competition for the space on the car for when it becomes successful. They want to be there in the moment when things become fruitful. And to do that, you might have to fight for your place. That will bring in greater investment. There is the idea of suppliers that are working with the team that will up their game because they see now they're working with an elite outfit, someone who's going to be challenging for a championship. All of these simple knock-on effects begin to come together and have small impacts all the way through the entire process to the point where everybody's game gets raised inside and outside of the team. You will start to see the media treating the team differently, giving them a little bit more attention, treating them with a bit more respect, a bit more like they are a top team. I think that's been one of their problems in recent times. But if bringing a name like Adrian in with the unveiling and that presence that we saw at the unveiling event, if it has all of these small incremental effects coming together, the impact could actually be quite significant. So I think, yes, it's a risk spending that much money on one person. Of course, there's a pressure now on Adrian to deliver, but I don't think, as I said before, it's all on Adrian's shoulders. Adrian will put a team together now. He'll start looking at the way everybody operates. He comes with such vast experience. And I absolutely believe the idea of combining chassis regulations with new power unit regulations presents a massive opportunity that will be lighting up his eyes. He will not be able to wait to get started on this project. And I think that reinvigorating of someone who's been in this sport for such a long period of time will be terrifying to the other teams in this sport. There is an argument here that every team on the grid needed to have Adrian Newey for all the reasons I've just outlined when it comes to 2026. Make no mistake, I'm not saying there's a guarantee that he will draw the fastest car, but I'm saying the effect of bringing Adrian to your team has so many small advantages that almost it was worth any organisation fighting to get him. I know many did, but there was only one team that was able to convince him. And a part of that is because of Lawrence Stroll giving him the freedoms that he requires to be able to work in his own ways and build the team in his own moulding. Also, as he's already described himself, working for an owner who is directly running the organisation is important to him. Working under a series of chain of command so chaotic as it would perhaps have been at Ferrari, that doesn't appeal to him. He doesn't like this middle management layers of organisation. He likes the idea of having some control and shaping things the way he wants to. And that at Aston Martin is exactly what he's got. The other one thing that I will leave you with before we sign off is we've all been talking about Max Verstappen's next move beyond Red Bull, and there's been a lot of speculation about will it be Mercedes. 2025, I think that's now been ruled out, and he will be at Red Bull. For 2026, though, there's a lot of talk that Max has been in heavy talks with Mercedes, and that seemed like perhaps the most likely destination for him at that point. The reason for that, of course, is that in the same way that Mercedes dealt very well with the last big regulation shift, if he sees potential for Mercedes doing the same thing in 26, it seems like an attractive destination for him. But now what about Aston Martin? For everything I've just said about the reinvigoration of the team and the suppliers and the sponsors, giving this belief and instilling this belief in everyone around Formula One that Aston Martin will be a force to be reckoned with, there is no way that a Max Verstappen will not now look at Aston Martin differently as a result of that. There could well be a scenario where Max Verstappen joins his old friend Adrian Newey at Aston Martin. And I think the chance of that happening with yesterday's announcement has just gone up through the roof. I'd love to know what you think on any of this stuff. Is Adrian Newey worth $30 million a year? Do you agree with me that he is and more? Or do you think it's just ridiculous that no one's worth that? And could Max Verstappen also end up at the green team from Silverstone before too long? Let me know in the comments. I'd love it if you interact. Give me some sort of feedback. Let me know what you think of the videos. And please hit the subscribe button. and I will be your best friend forever. Thanks very much, guys. I'll see you soon. Ta-da.